Far away in a galaxy full of strange worlds and strange creatures, there was a planet ruled by a very powerful alien countess. Her name was Lady Valera. She was once the most beautiful and strong woman on her planet. People called her the Eternal Countess because she looked young and full of life for hundreds of years. But now, time was catching up with her. Slowly, her skin lost its glow, her hair lost its shine, and her energy was fading. Valera was afraid. She had seen many rulers before her grow old and weak. She did not want to be forgotten. She did not want to lose her power. She wanted to live forever young and strong. But her own scientists and healers had no answer for her. The advanced medicines and alien technologies they had could only slow the process, not stop it one cold night. In her grand palace filled with bright crystals and soft lights, Valera sat alone in her throne room. Her eyes were tired, but her mind was sharp. She whispered to herself, there must be a way to live forever. Suddenly, a message arrived from the far edge of the galaxy. It was from a secret research station on a distant planet called Earth. The message said something strange, that the hormones found in human males might hold the key to eternal youth. Hormones are special chemicals in the body that control many things, like growth and energy. The message said that human male hormones were very powerful and rare. They could heal wounds fast, give energy, and even make the body stronger. Valera's eyes lit up. Could this be the answer she was looking for? She called her closest advisors and told them about the message. They were shocked. Human males. They live on a small, weak planet. How can they help us? They asked. Valera stood up and said, we have no choice. We must find one of these humans and bring him here. Only then can we test if their hormones can save me. Her advisors started to prepare. They sent messages to their spies and scouts, asking for any information about humans. At the same time, Valera started to make plans. She knew humans were very different from her people. They might not understand her, or they might be dangerous. But she had no time to waste. Meanwhile, on Earth, a young man named Jake was living a simple life. He was an explorer who loved to travel to new places. One day, while exploring a remote mountain, his spaceship was suddenly pulled into a strange force. He lost control and landed on a new planet, Valera's planet. Jake was confused and scared. The air was different, the sky was strange, and the creatures were unlike anything he had seen. He tried to call for help, but his communicator was damaged. He was all alone on this alien world. Valera heard about the human arrival from her scouts. She was excited and nervous. She sent her guards to capture Jake and bring him to her palace. She wanted to meet the human and see if he was the one with the special hormones. When Jake was brought before Valera, he looked tired but curious. He saw a woman who was tall, elegant, and glowing with power. But there was also sadness in her eyes. Valera spoke softly. You are far from home, human, but you are here for a reason. Your body carries a power that can save me. Will you help me? Did not understand everything she said, but he could feel her desperation. He wanted to help, but he did not know how. Valera continued, if you help me, I will protect you. You'll have a new home here. But if you refuse, you will be lost in this world forever. Jake felt trapped. He had no choice but to agree for. Now, deep inside, he hoped he could find a way to return home someday. As the days passed, Jake learned more about Valera's world. He saw the beauty and danger of this alien planet. He also noticed how the people treated Valera like a queen, but also feared her. Valera's scientists began to study Jake. They took samples of his blood and hormones. They tested how his body worked with their advanced machines. The results were promising. The human hormones were stronger than anything they had seen before. Valera felt hope for the first time in many years. Maybe, just maybe, she could have her youth back, but not everyone on the planet was happy. Some of Valera's enemies wanted to stop this plan. They thought bringing a human here was dangerous and might weaken the Countess. They started to plan against her. One night, Jake was walking alone near the palace gardens. Suddenly, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned around and saw two mysterious figures. They whispered, "We must stop the human before it is too late." Jake did not understand what they meant, but he felt danger. Back in the palace, Valera sat alone again, thinking about what was coming. She knew this was just the beginning. Her quest for eternal youth was not easy. It would be filled with danger, secrets, and hard choices. She looked at the stars and said, "For my people, for my power, I will do whatever it takes." Far from Lady Valera's grand palace, Jake sat quietly in a small room. The walls glowed faintly with alien light. Strange machines hummed softly around him. His wrists were bound by invisible energy cuffs. He could move, but only a little. He was a prisoner, yet treated carefully. He was in the heart of an alien world that still felt strange and cold. Jake's mind raced. He thought of his home, Earth, the blue planet full of life, familiar faces, and simple days. How had his journey gone so wrong? One moment he was exploring a mountain. The next, he was trapped on a world far beyond his understanding. He remembered. The woman, Lady Valera, the Countess, she was unlike any being he had ever met. Beautiful, proud, and powerful, but with a hint of sadness in her eyes. She believed Jake held the secret to her eternal youth. But Jake wasn't sure if he wanted to be part of her plan. Meanwhile, Lady Valera stood in her council room, surrounded by advisors and scientists. She looked older now. The weight of years was visible on her face, but her eyes burned with fierce determination. "We must begin," she said sharply. "The human's hormones are our only hope. But first we need to know more. We must understand him, his body, his strength." One of her top scientists, a tall alien with shimmering skin, stepped forward. "My lady, we have run preliminary tests on his blood. The human male hormones are stronger than expected. It could indeed slow your aging, but we must be careful. His biology is very different from ours. You don't fully understand the long-term effects." Valera nodded. "I understand the risks, but time is short. My enemies grow bolder each day. If I do not act now, my reign will end." The council fell silent. Back in the holding room, Jake was visited by an alien guard. The guard's face was hidden under a helmet, but his voice was calm. "You will cooperate," the guard said. "It is for your own safety." Jake swallowed hard. "I don't want to be used or hurt." The guard hesitated. "We mean no harm, but you must understand, this is important." Days turned into weeks. Jake's life became a strange routine of tests, rest, and more tests. The scientists probed his strength, his blood, even his thoughts. They wanted to know everything. One day Valera herself came to see him. She walked slowly, her regal robes flowing behind her. She looked different, softer, more human-like. "Jake," she said quietly, "I know you fear me. I would too if I were in your place. But I need you to understand why I do this." Jake looked up, curiosity mixed with fear in his eyes. "My people are dying. My world is fading. The old ways cannot save us," she said. "Your blood, your hormones can bring me back. Give me this chance and I will protect you." Jake was silent. Truth was heavy on his heart. He wanted to help, but he did not want to lose himself in the process. That night, Jake lay on a soft bed, staring at the ceiling. The room was silent, except for the distant hum of machines. He thought about his family on Earth, the friends he left behind. Would he ever see them again? Suddenly the door opened. A young alien woman stepped in quietly. Her eyes were kind, and her voice gentle. "My name is Lyra," she said softly. "I am one of Valera's healers. I want to help you." Jake sat up slowly. "Why do you want to help me?" Lyra smiled faintly. "Because not all here believe in the plan. Some of us fear what it will cost." She told Jake about the hidden dangers. The process to take his hormones was not simple. It could harm him, maybe forever. Some in the court whispered that Valera might lose herself to the power she seeks. Jake felt a strange mix of hope and fear. He knew he had to be careful. Trust was hard on this alien world. Days later, the council met again. Valera spoke with strength. "Prepare the chamber. The process will begin soon." Jake was taken to a special room, a large chamber filled with glowing crystals and machines that pulsed with light. The air smelled sharp, but not unpleasant. Scientists explained the procedure. They would carefully take samples of his hormones and mix them with alien technology to create a serum for Valera. Jake felt the weight of the moment. This was no ordinary experiment. This was a gamble for his life, for hers. As the procedure started, Jake closed his eyes. Strange sensations ran through his body, warmth, then cold, then a strange tingling. He tried to stay calm. When it ended, he felt weak but alive. Valera was brought into the chamber. The serum was applied to her skin. Slowly, a change began. Her skin became smoother, her eyes brighter. The years seemed to peel away. For the first time in decades, she smiled, but not all was well. Outside the chamber, whispers grew louder. Some nobles feared Valera was becoming too dependent on the human. Others saw an opportunity. If they could control Jake, they could control the Countess. One night, Jake overheard a secret meeting. They used the human to keep her young, but what if he turns against us? A voice said, "We must act soon," another replied. "Or the Countess will become a puppet of Earth." Jake's heart pounded. Danger was closing in. He found Lyra again. "What do we do? I don't want to be a pawn." Lyra looked worried. "We must be smart. We must find a way to protect ourselves, and maybe find a way home." The days ahead were uncertain. Jake knew his choices would shape not just his fate, but the fate of a world. The human chosen for eternal youth had become a key player in an alien game, a game where trust was rare and every move could be the last. The soft hum of alien machines filled the vast chamber deep inside Lady Valera's palace. The room was circular, with walls made of a strange, shimmering metal that seemed to glow softly under the pale light. At the center stood a tall, glass-like pod covered with glowing runes and delicate tubes. This was where the secret procedure would take place. Jake was brought into the chamber, his hands still lightly bound by the invisible cuffs. His heart beat fast. He was not sure what to expect, but he knew this moment could change everything for both him and Lady Valera. The alien scientists surrounded him, their eyes filled with curiosity and focus. They spoke quietly among themselves, pointing to strange machines and complex symbols on floating screens. Jake tried to stay calm, but inside, a storm of fear and hope swirled. One of the scientists, a tall alien named Threx, stepped forward. His skin shimmered like liquid silver, and his eyes glowed a soft blue. He placed a gentle hand on Jake's shoulder. "Do not be afraid, human," Threx said softly. "This procedure is designed to help both you and the Countess. Your hormones will be carefully extracted and mixed with our technology. It will help restore her youth and strength." Jake nodded slowly. He wanted to trust them, but he also knew he was far from home. In a world full of unknown dangers, the process began. First, Jake was asked to lie down on a smooth, glowing platform. Soft straps appeared, gently holding his arms and legs in place. Above him, a large device descended, a mix of ancient alien runes and modern machines, humming with energy. The device scanned Jake's body, creating a detailed map of his cells and fluids. Lights danced across his skin as tiny needles emerged, carefully drawing blood and hormones without causing pain. Jake felt a strange warmth spreading through his body. It was not unpleasant, but it was unfamiliar, as if the life inside him was being shared with something else. Meanwhile, in a smaller chamber nearby, Lady Valera waited. She sat on a throne-like chair, her face pale but hopeful. Her advisors stood around her, watching screens that showed every detail of the procedure as the scientists worked on Jake's samples. They used advanced alien machines to blend his hormones with powerful nanobots, tiny robots designed to repair and renew cells. The goal was to create a serum that could reverse Valera's aging and give her back her strength. Suddenly, an alarm beeped softly. One scientist frowned. "Some reactions are unexpected," she said. "The human's biology is more complex than we thought. The nanobots are adapting quickly, but we need to monitor closely." Valera's eyes narrowed. "Proceed with caution. I will accept no failures." Back in the chamber, Jake's body began to feel different. His muscles twitched involuntarily, and a faint glow appeared under his skin. The energy inside him was changing. Threx watched carefully. "The process is affecting him too," he said. "The human is becoming stronger." but we do not yet know what it will cost. Jake opened his eyes, surprised by his new strength. He pushed against the straps and found he could break free easily. The invisible cuffs fell away. For the first time, Jake felt powerful in this alien world, but power came with pain. His body ached in places he did not understand. Strange visions flashed before his eyes, memories that were not his own. He saw flashes of alien landscapes, faces, and strange symbols. He gasped and sat up. Breathing hard, Threx approached him with a calm smile. "You are experiencing what we call bonding. Your body and the nanobots are connecting. This is normal." Jake tried to stand, but the room spun around him. He steadied himself on the glowing platform. "Will this pain go away?" "You're dubbing he," asked. Threx nodded. "Yes, but it will take time. Your body is healing, growing stronger. You will soon feel better than ever." In another part of the palace, Valera watched the progress. Face changed, hope shining brighter than before. Suddenly, a warning flashed on her screen. "Warning. Some factions are resisting the procedure," her chief advisor said. "There are those who believe this human is a threat, and they plan to act soon." Valera's eyes hardened. "Then we must move faster. Prepare the next phase." The scientist explained to Jake that the next step was to inject the serum made from his hormones into Valera's body. This was the real test. Would the serum work? Would it restore her youth without harming her? Jake was taken to a small room where Lyra, the healer, waited for him. "You are stronger now," she said softly. "But you must be careful. The process is not just science, it is also magic." Jake looked at her, confused. Lyra smiled. "On this planet, technology and ancient magic are one. The serum carries both." Jake nodded slowly. He trusted Lyra. She had been kind and honest with him. That night, Jake lay awake, thinking about everything, wondered if he could trust Valera and her court. He thought of Earth, of home, and of what this strange journey meant. He realized one thing clearly: his life would never be the same again. The next morning, Jake was taken to the grand hall, where Valera waited. Her skin glowed softly, her eyes bright with anticipation. The scientist began the injection. Slowly, the serum entered Valera's body. At first, nothing happened. Then, a warm light spread over her skin. Her wrinkles faded, her hair regained its shine. She stood taller, stronger. The court gasped. Valera smiled, tears of joy in her eyes. "It works," she whispered. "I feel alive again." But as the light grew, a shadow moved in the room. A figure, watching silently. Not everyone was happy about this miracle outside the palace walls. A group of aliens gathered in secret. They whispered of rebellion, of plans to stop the Countess and her human. "We must act before it is too late," their leader said. "The human is a threat to all of us." Inside, Jake felt the weight of his new power, but also the danger closing. The secret procedure had changed everything, but the greatest trials were still to come. The palace was quieter now, but the air was thick with tension. Lady Valera had regained much of her youthful strength, thanks to the serum made from Jake's hormones. Her skin glowed softly under the light, and her once weary eyes sparkled with new life. Yet beneath that bright exterior, a storm was growing, one of suspicion, fear, and hidden secrets. Jake stood in the large chamber where he had been held captive. No longer bound by invisible cuffs, he moved freely, but he still felt like a stranger in this alien world. Every step he took was watched by countless eyes, some friendly, some hostile. One afternoon, Jake found himself alone in the palace gardens, a lush, strange place filled with plants that shimmered with colors he had never seen. The soft hum of the city in the distance, mixed with the gentle whisper of leaves. Suddenly, a familiar voice called his name. Jake. He turned to see Lady Valera approaching, her footsteps soft on the glowing grass. She looked different now, less like a distant queen and more like a person with fears and hopes. "May I join you?" she asked. Jake nodded. "Of course." They walked slowly among the alien flowers. The silence between them, comfortable but full of meaning. "I owe you my life," Valera said quietly. "Without you, I would be fading away. I would be lost." Jake looked at her, surprised by her honesty. "I didn't do it for you. I'm still trying to understand all of this." Valera smiled sadly. "You are more than a science experiment. Jake, you have become part of this world and part of me." Jake felt a strange warmth in his chest. He wanted to trust her, but the dangers lurking in the palace made it hard. Over the next days, they met often in secret. Valera shared stories of her past, how she had ruled her people with strength and kindness, how she feared the end of her reign, and how lonely immortality could be. Jake told her about Earth, about his family, and the simple joys he missed. The sun on his face, the sound of rain, the laughter of friends. Slowly, a fragile bond grew between them, built on shared fears and small hopes. But the palace was not kind to secrets. One night, as Jake returned to his quarters, he heard hushed voices nearby. He crept closer and recognized Lyra, the healer, speaking with a group of nobles. "We cannot let this continue," one noble said. "The human grows too powerful. He influences the Countess." Lyra's voice trembled, but he saved her. Without him, she would be weak. Another noble sneered, "He is a foreigner, a threat. We must act." Jake's heart pounded. The fragile trust he had built might soon be shattered. The next day, Valera summoned Jake to the throne room. "Come," she said firmly. "We must talk openly now. No more secrets." Jake stepped forward, his eyes meeting hers. "I know the court whispers against me," he said. "They fear me because I am human." Valera nodded. "And they fear me because I depend on you." Took his hand gently. "But dependence is not weakness, it is trust." Jake felt a surge of emotion. For the first time since arriving on this alien world, he felt seen, not as a prisoner or a tool, but as a person. Their connection grew stronger. Valera shared her plans to change the kingdom, to bring new hope and peace, to end the fears that had divided her people for centuries. Jake wanted to believe her, but shadows crept at the edges of their world. That night, Jake was awoken by a sudden noise. He looked out the window and saw cloaked figures moving silently through the palace grounds. Lyra appeared behind him, whispering urgently, "They come. For you, we must hide." Together, they slipped through secret passages, avoiding guards and spies. Jake's heart raced as he realized the danger was closer than ever. They reached a hidden chamber, dimly lit and safe for now. "Why do they want me?" Jake asked. Lyra shook her head. "Because you are the key to Valera's power, and some want that power for themselves." Jake clenched his fists. "Then I will fight to protect her in this world." Lyra smiled faintly. "You are brave. But this is only the beginning." Back in the throne room, Valera waited, unaware of the night's dangers. She looked toward the stars, hoping for strength and guidance. The bond between the human and the Countess had grown fragile but real. Together, they stood at the edge of a new future, one filled with hope, danger, and the promise of change. The grand halls of Lady Valera's palace buzzed with quiet whispers and hidden plans. Though the Countess had regained her youth and strength, not all were pleased with the changes that came with the human Jake. Some saw the human not as a savior, but as a threat to their way of life and to their own power. Deep within the palace's shadowed corridors, a secret group gathered. They were nobles and high-ranking advisors who had served Valera's family for generations. But now, their loyalty wavered. They feared the Countess's reliance on Jake and the unknown power he represented. "We cannot allow this human to control the throne," growled Carthos, a tall, stern noble with sharp eyes. "If Valera's strength depends on him, she is no longer our queen. She is a puppet." Around the dimly lit table, others nodded in agreement. "We must act," said Mira, a cunning advisor. "This alliance will destroy the old order. Traditions, our power, it will all vanish." Plan formed quickly. They would capture Jake and force Valera to break ties with him, or remove her altogether if she refused. Meanwhile, Jake remained unaware of the growing storm. After narrowly escaping the last attempt on his life with Lyra's help, he was becoming stronger and more confident. The strange glow that had spread beneath his skin after the procedure pulsed gently now, filling him with energy one afternoon. As Jake trained in the palace courtyard under the watchful eye of Valera's guards, Lyra approached him quietly. "Jake," she whispered, "there is unrest brewing. Some nobles plan to seize power." Jake paused, wiping sweat from his brow. "Why don't they support Valera? She's stronger than ever." Lyra shook her head sadly. "Because they fear change. They fear you." Jake's face hardened. "Then we must be ready." That night, Valera called a council meeting. Her voice was calm but firm as she addressed her advisors. "I know there are those who question my choices," she said. "But I have seen the future, and it lies with us together." She glanced at Jake, who stood beside her. "This human has given me strength I thought lost forever. He has my trust, and soon you will see why." Some in the room shifted uneasily, but Valera's words carried weight just as the meeting ended. A messenger arrived with urgent news. "Rebels have seized the armory," he reported. "They plan to use the weapons against the palace guards." Valera's eyes flashed with determination. "Jake, we need you now." Jake nodded without hesitation, gathered a group of loyal guards, and raced toward the armory. The palace corridors were filled with echoes of footsteps and hurried voices. As Jake and his team neared the armory, they heard the clash of weapons and shouted orders. Bursting into the room, Jake saw the rebels armed and fierce, holding the armory's weapons, ready to fight. "Put down your weapons," Jake commanded. Stepping forward with confidence, the leader of the rebels, a tall man with a scar across his face, sneered. "You don't belong here, human. This is our palace." Jake's voice was steady. "I fight for peace. For Lady Valera, lay down your weapons, and no one will be harmed." For a tense moment, no one moved. Then chaos erupted. The rebels charged, and a fierce battle began. Jake fought with strength he had never known before, his body moving with a speed and power fueled by the alien procedure. Around him, loyal guards clashed with rebels. Sparks flew as swords met metal, and shouts echoed through the halls. In the heat of battle, Jake spotted Lyra struggling against two attackers. Without thinking, he rushed to her aid, knocking one aside and pushing the other back. "Thank you," she gasped, steadying herself. Together, they fought their way out, rallying more guards to their side. After a hard-fought battle, the rebels were driven back, disarmed, and captured. The armory was secure once more, but the fight had revealed the depth of the palace's danger. Back in the throne room, Valera met Jake's tired but determined gaze. "You saved us," she said softly, "but this is only the beginning." Jake nodded. "We must find those behind the rebellion. We cannot let them destroy what we are building," Valera agreed. "We will root out the traitors. Together." In the days that followed, Jake and Valera worked closely to strengthen their alliances. They met with loyal nobles, shared plans to protect the kingdom, and prepared for the battles yet to come. Through it all, their bond deepened. Jake learned more about Valera's past, the sacrifices she had made, the loneliness of her power, and the hope she held for a better future. Valera, in turn, saw Jake not just as a source of strength, but as a partner. Someone who understood the weight of leadership and the price of change. But even as they stood united, shadows continued to move in the palace halls. Secret meetings, whispered threats, and hidden spies reminded them that the rebellion was far from over. One evening, as Jake walked through the palace gardens with Lyra, she looked at him seriously. "There is a powerful group working behind the scenes," she said. "They want to control Valera. If they cannot, they will destroy her." Jake clenched his fists. "Then we fight. For her, for the kingdom, for what's right." Lyra smiled faintly. "You have become more than a human here. You are a symbol of hope." Jake looked up at the stars shining above the alien world. The path ahead was dangerous and uncertain, but he was ready. For the first time, he felt like he belonged, and no matter what came next, he would stand by Lady Valera's side. The palace was no longer the peaceful place Jake had once hoped for. Every corner seemed heavy with whispers and watchful eyes. Though Lady Valera had regained her youth and strength, the cost of her revival was slowly becoming clear. Not just to her, but to Jake as well. Days after the rebellion's failure, Valera summoned Jake to her private chambers. The room was bathed in soft golden light, casting long shadows on the ornate walls. Valera sat on a plush chair, her youthful face touched by a faint sadness. "Jake," she began, "there is something you must understand about this gift I have received." Jake took a seat opposite her, curiosity and concern mixed in his eyes. "Serum made from your hormones gave me youth," she said slowly. "But it is not perfect. The life it grants is tied to a bond, a deep connection between us." Jake frowned. "What kind of connection?" Valera looked away briefly, then met his gaze. "Your life energy flows through me now. If you grow weak, so do I. If you are harmed, I will suffer." Jake's heart sank. "You mean we are linked? Like two parts of the same body?" She nodded. "Yes, and that means the price of my youth is your strength, your health, even your very life." Jake clenched his fists. "Why didn't you tell me before?" "'Cause I was afraid," Valera admitted. "Afraid you would leave? Afraid this bond would be too much?" For the first time, Jake saw the Countess not as a powerful ruler, but as a woman burdened by fear and hope. Days passed, and Jake felt the strange effects of their bond. His energy ebbed and flowed with Valera's moods. When she was strong and vibrant, he felt alive. But when she was weary or troubled, his own body ached. One morning, Jake awoke feeling weaker than before. His vision blurred and his limbs trembled. Lyra appeared at his side, concern clear on her face. "Jake, you must rest," she urged. "This bond is taking more from you than we realized." Jake shook his head. "I can't. Valera needs me." Lyra sighed. "You push yourself too far. It could be fatal." Jake's thoughts raced. He wanted to protect Valera, but not at the cost of his own life. That afternoon, Valera met with her council. Her face was pale and her steps slower. The serum that gave her youth was also draining Jake's vitality. "I must find a way to sever this bond," she told the council, "before it destroys us both." Her advisors looked uneasy. "It may not be possible," warned Threx, the chief scientist. "The bond is woven deep in your cells and his. To break it could mean death for one or both of you." Valera's eyes hardened. "Then we must find another way." Meanwhile, the rebels from the failed uprising were not silent. They saw the weakening human as their chance to strike again. Secretly, they spread rumors among the people that Valera's new strength was a curse, that the human was poisoning their queen. One evening, as Jake walked through the palace halls, he overheard voices. "The human is dying," a noble whispered. "Soon Valera will fall." Jake's heart pounded. He felt the truth of their words in his bones. He sought out Valera. "We cannot let this continue," he said urgently. "If I grow weaker, you grow weaker. We are bound." Valera took his hands, her grip gentle but firm. "We will face this together," she said, "but I fear the cost may be higher than we imagined." That night, they met in a hidden chamber deep below the palace. Lyra had prepared a device, a mix of ancient alien magic and technology that might strengthen. Their bond eased the strain. The procedure was difficult. Jake lay on the glowing platform, feeling a cold light surround him. Valera held his hand, her presence calming his fear. As the device worked, Jake felt a surge of energy. His strength returned, but so did a new sensation. A whisper of Valera's thoughts, her feelings, as if their minds touched. When the light faded, Jake opened his eyes. "I can feel you," he whispered. Valera smiled softly. "Not you." Their bond was deeper now, stronger, but also more fragile. Days later, the rebels launched their second attack, hoping to take advantage of Jake's weakened state. The palace erupted into chaos. Alarms blared and guards rushed through the halls. Jake fought alongside Valera, their connection making them a powerful team. When Jake was hit, Valera felt the pain and pushed forward with fierce determination. Together, they defeated the rebels once more, but the victory came at a cost. Jake collapsed, exhausted and pale. Valera knelt beside him, tears in her eyes. "You saved me again," she whispered. "But at what price?" Jake smiled weakly. "I would do it again." As he rested, Jake thought of Earth, of home, and of what this strange journey had taught him. The price of eternal youth was high, but he was willing to pay it for Valera, for the kingdom, and for the bond that had become their strength. The sun rose over the alien world with a soft glow, painting the sky in warm colors that no human had ever seen before. The palace of Lady Valera stood tall and proud against the horizon, its shining towers reaching for the stars. But inside, a quiet peace had settled, peace born not from power or fear, but from trust and hope. Jake sat beside Valera in the grand garden, surrounded by shimmering flowers and trees with leaves like silver feathers. The strange plant seemed to pulse gently with life, as if sharing in the calm moment. Valera looked at Jake with a softness that had not been there before. "It feels like a dream," she said quietly, "to stand here, not as a ruler alone, but with you." Jake smiled, reaching for her hand. "I never thought I would find a place like this, a place that feels like home." Their bond had deepened far beyond the secret serum and the strange science that had brought them together. It had become a connection of hearts and souls built through trials, battles, and moments of truth. In the weeks since the last rebellion, the palace had changed. The nobles who had once whispered against Jake and Valera now looked upon them with respect, even awe. The people began to hope again. Seeing their queen stronger and more vibrant than ever, Jake and Valera worked side by side to rebuild the kingdom. They sought peace with neighboring worlds, opened their gates to trade and knowledge, healed the wounds of old conflicts. One afternoon, as they walked through the bustling city market, Valera noticed the faces of the people children laughing, merchants calling out their wares, strangers from far corners of the galaxy mingling together. "This is the world I want to protect," she said, squeezing Jake's hand. "Not one ruled by fear or power, but by hope and kindness." Jake nodded. "We've come far, but there will be more challenges ahead." Valera smiled. "I am ready, with you." Their new life was not without difficulties. The bond they shared still tied their fates together. Jake's strength waxed and waned with Valera's health, but they had learned to trust each other's limits and to face hardships as one. One evening, under the light of twin moons, Jake and Valera stood on the balcony of the palace, looking out at the stars. "I never imagined I would find this," Jake said softly. "Not just a kingdom, but a family." Valera leaned her head on his shoulder. "You are my family, Jake." In the distance, a new ship landed in the palace courtyard, a vessel from Earth, sent to find Jake after he had disappeared. So long ago, Jake watched the ship with mixed feelings. He thought of his old life and the family he left behind. Valera noticed his gaze. "Will you return?" she asked. Jake shook his head gently. "No, my home is here now." Valera smiled. "Then this is truly a new beginning." As the stars sparkled above, Jake and Valera faced the future together, stronger, wiser, and united by a bond that no power could break. Their story was one of change, sacrifice, and love, a story that would be told for generations to come.